when we the Traveler roll into Snezhnaya next year around this time? Will we be the next Pyro Archon of Natlan? The story so far certainly points in that direction, and they definitely want us to feel like that's the route they're going. And honestly, for a lot of reasons for the future of Genshin Impact, that actually makes a ton of sense. Now, I think that the Traveler and CaptainTo are the two biggest candidates to inherit that title, and there's very good reasons for both of them inheriting it. But I ultimately think us, the Traveler, has the better claim and the better chance to, and I think it's all going to tie in together very well. CaptainTo tells her that the secrets of the ley lines are no secret to him, and long have they been destined for ruin, and that since the oath made 500 years ago remains unfulfilled, what use is the Gnosis in her hands? And then she tells him this is about more than the Tsaritsa, so in other words, we all know the Fatui and the Harbinger's plans with the Gnosis and the Tsaritsa, but this seems to be more personal to him than just that, just what the Fatui's goals are, meaning he has a stake in Natlan and its future. And then he states in time of crisis, somebody must pick up the mantle of salvation, and now it falls to him to create new rules for Natlan. So how the nation functions, with the Wyab, death, the sacred flame, Captain wants to save Natlan, and he wants to take up her position as Pyro Archon. We learned in the Archon quest that there have been many Pyro Archons, just mere humans that inherit that authority and title, but we don't actually know how deeply they're connected with Celestia, the Divine Throne, and this reason alone might very well be why the Traveler can't resonate with Pyro and the statue. I also talked about in my Columbina video that it might very well be the Shade of Death that made a pact with the first Pyro Archon and established these rules of Natlan to help safeguard it and protect it. Help protect people's memories, the sacred names, and the heroes of Natlan and their tribes, and how Natlan's entire culture is around worshipping death, aka the Shade of Death. I truly do believe that, but either way, it's the Wyab that functions as the ley lines right now for Natlan. Now, the Captain and the Pyro Archon at the end of the Archon Quest in 5.0 are both temporarily out of commission. We know that the Sacred Flame is at risk, and because the Wyab has been infiltrated by the Abyss, people cannot participate in the pilgrimage, which is not good. And similarly, this oath that CaptainTo's talking about, Tenok also mentions this in her flashback and memories. So at the very least, it would seem that CaptainTo might have been around 500 years ago and was one of these ancient heroes. It seems very likely. And because now we know how the Pyro Archon titles pass down from mortal to mortal, it makes sense that he could challenge her for that title. But at the end of the Archon quest, the Pyro Archon tells us that she's going to get us an ancient name. We were not able to participate in the tournament, the pilgrimage, or the night wars because we're not from Natlan. If you agree to join us, you will not only gain my full support in your journey, but I will also forge a brand new ancient name for you. There are strict conditions that must be met, but obviously there must be a way to do this, otherwise there would be no more names, it would have dwindled to 0. And if she gains an ancient name, her adventures in Natlan will be recorded, the stories remembered by our people, and the Pyro Archon guarantees that she will not let us fall, and she will be there for us, and that she's going to reach out to Shalonen, who's also an ancient name bearer and one of the 6 heroes of current day, also the character that we're going to be getting in 5.1. She also says that they've never forged an ancient name for an Outlander before, but she'll find a way. So naturally you can see how they're trying to hint towards us being the next Pyro Archon. We'll be the first Outlander that can participate in the tournament and the war. The Traveler is one of the strongest people in all of Teyvat, and we've only gotten stronger with each new element we resonate with. And every single nation we visit, we solve the crisis. Mondstadt with Dvalin and the Abyss, Liyue with the Adepti, Child and Osile, Inazuma with the Vision Hunt Decree and challenging the Shogun, Sumeru, the corruption of the sages and a man-made god, Scaramouche. In Fontaine it was the Prophecy, and helping protect them from the Flood, the all-devouring Narwhal. And what they have effectively done with Natlan so far is have the Traveler set up to be the biggest hero in Natlan. The Captain and the Pyro Archon are out of commission temporarily right now, which makes us the strongest and most effective hero that can currently fight back the Abyss, along with our purification powers that have now been revitalized. We haven't really got to use those abilities since Mondstadt, but they made a point to bring that up in the first act of the quest. So even though we can't resonate with Pyro right now, and maybe Natlan has never had a true Archon for many years that has actually taken the Divine Throne seat, we might be the first one that's truly worthy in hundreds of years. And the Traveler has an opportunity to save Natlan from its war with the Abyss, save the nation completely, and fulfill that oath. And now that we're gonna get an ancient name in 5.1, we are the perfect candidate to save Natlan from the Abyss as its strongest warrior and combatant, and ultimately earn the title of Pyro Archon. What would be more fitting than winning the war permanently and saving the nation? Because ultimately, let's be honest, that's what's going to happen. We are going to save Natlan. We always save the nation that we go to. And because 5.0 effectively sidelined the two strongest characters in the nation, the Captain and the Pyro Archon, we are the best candidate to fulfill that oath that's been around for 500 years, which will earn us the title of Archon, but also the respect of everyone. Even the current Pyro Archon and the Captain himself. There are some stipulations that go with this, and I did talk about this again in my Columbina video. I really do believe the Shade of Death and the Wyab are linked very heavily, and the first Pyro Archon was said to be a male. Pretty well confirmed to be Sheblanki, I hope I'm not butchering that name. Is it possible that they were in agreement and the Shade of Death was trying to protect Natlan, and the ley lines were destroyed deliberately, and the Wyab was established to serve as the ley lines through the Shade of Death, and the first Pyro Archon, now able to pass the torch and the Gnosis to other individuals and mortals that are worthy, without Celestia getting mad and punishing them, because now they're severed from the ley lines and Irminsul. We know other shades in the past have intervened with different nations like Istaroth within Azuma and Mondstadt. The Shade of Life played a huge part in Fontaine's history with Egeria, the first Hydro Archon. And because Natlan's very focused around death, worship, and the Night Kingdom, which basically serves as the afterlife, I would not be surprised if the Shade of Death is playing a big part in Natlan's history and helping protect it from the Abyss. Why this is important is because this is the first region where I think it's actually possible that the Traveler has a good chance to become the Archon, because now we know exactly how the Archons from Natlan are picked. The Traveler is more than qualified to take up this mantle. We are a Descender that has the ability to purify abyssal corruption and resonate with all the elements. Not to mention, if we win and save them from the War of the Abyss, we will be a legendary hero that fulfilled an oath. Through Natlan's history, ancient names, and its ancient heroes, we'll be the big-time savior of Natlan. In every conceivable way, we would be more than qualified for this. Plus, one way or another, there's going to be a Pyro Traveler that's playable. It's inevitable. The Traveler's going to be able to play every element no matter what. If Natlan's never had a traditional Archon connected with the Divine Throne of Celestia, and according to Maukia, the first Pyro Archon, he established the current rules of Natlan, which means, in theory, the Traveler will never be able to resonate with Pyro under its current system and rules, but according to the Captain, those rules can be changed. So, in short, we will become the next Pyro Archon with the Gnosis, and that is how we are able to use the Pyro element as a playable element. Save Natlan from the Abyss and its war like we always save every nation, and ultimately take up the mantle as the next worthy candidate and the strongest person that can possibly fight against the Abyss in the war right now. So we are the strongest able body ready to go, and we are getting our ancient name in 5.1. But that still leaves the question, if that's the case, wouldn't that power scale us way too high? Is that too big of a power jump from one nation to another? To be honest, it actually makes a ton of sense and is kind of perfect, really. The Captain's an honorable guy. If we are able to fulfill the oath from 500 years ago, save Natlan, because clearly he's more invested into Natlan than just the Tsaritsa and the Gnosis. Otherwise, he would have went and taken it already. But he says himself, he's not about to start attacking and kicking opponents while they're down, taking advantage of opponents while they're weakened. The Pyro Archon is trying to safeguard Natlan from the Abyss by using all of her power to help keep the sacred flame going while the pilgrimage is on hold. That is why she needs our help and needs us to gain a sacred name. we can't participate yet. And with our help, we give Natlan a big boost. If we fulfill this oath and ultimately end the war, I don't think the captain's going to be bitter about this. I think the captain would respect us wholeheartedly and see us as a worthy opponent and honorable. So I really don't think he would be bitter about us becoming the next Pyro Archon or gaining the Gnosis. As a matter of fact, Snezhnaya is the next place we have to go, and what better way to go to Snezhnaya than to make a truce with the first Fatui Harbinger and go there together, because from the trailer in Natlan it seemed like the captain was eventually going to participate in the war. I honestly believe we're going to fight alongside him to defeat the Abyss, because from what him and Tenok both said, it seemed like he had fought in the wars 500 years ago, and that he is definitely from Natlan. Otherwise, he would not know about its lack of ley lines, the oath made, or how Natlan functions, and that he could challenge the Pyro Archon. I personally think that would be a perfect way for us to go to Snezhnaya and confront the Tsaritsa and the other Harbingers. It also means that we could walk into Snezhnaya with our head held high. It would be sort of underwhelming and kind of a joke. No offense to the Traveler, but for us to walk in Snezhnaya right now would be kind of hilariously a joke. It is the home of the Fatui and the Harbingers. Pyro, the Rooster, probably other Harbingers are kicking around, and the Tsaritsa herself. What real kind of a threat would the Traveler be if we waltzed into Snezhnaya, like we typically do with every nation? It would be sort of laughable. But by this time next year, we're walking into Snezhnaya as the Pyro Archon with the Pyro Gnosis ourselves. And we earn the respect and make a deal and a pact with the captain, who's an honorable guy. We show up to the Tsaritsa, and we demand cooperation from her for the Gnosis. And we get involved with Project Stuja. Or at least that's how it starts out. This is the most plausible way they can go about it, and for us to actually enter Snezhnaya, while being a genuine threat to the home of the Fatui Harbingers. That guaranteed has multiple Harbingers hanging around. Now, will the captain want his rematch with the Pyro Archon? Definitely. And again, maybe that's us next. We as the Pyro Archon, maybe that's the last bit of respect we gotta earn. And that is how the captain is a boss battle in a weekly boss for Natlan. Having to best him in a 1v1 to earn his respect to keep the Gnosis. It definitely seems to me like they're leaning towards the Traveler becoming the next Archon, and I honestly believe this is the most genuine way to do it, while having a fulfilling arc for the captain, the current Pyro Archon, and leading up to Snezhnaya. Now, you want to know where this all ties in together? All the cracks, all the missing pieces start to connect perfectly. We were shown a trailer, a Sumeru animated trailer from Genshin themselves. It showed us, the Traveler, standing next to a burning Irminsul, also foreshadowed in the original trailer when we seen all the Harbingers for the first time at La Senora's funeral. It showed the Doctor talking to Columbina, standing next to Irminsul burning, and then Kale waking up, making it seem like it could be a dream. But one of the Genshin story writers actually confirmed that burning Irminsul is a future event, not a vision, so it still has yet to happen. Now, there's so many things we did not know at the time. We did not know about the Loom of Fate, which the Abyss planned to weaponize, the ley lines. We did not know about Natlan and its war with the Abyss. And we really did not suspect that the Traveler could become the Pyro Archon at that time. No one was talking about that, because nobody from Natlan ever left that nation, so we had no idea. But if all of this plays out the way I've described in this video, or even roughly for that matter, do you know what this means? The Loom of Fate is a danger to anyone connected with the ley lines. Natlan is sort of safe from this. If by the time we leave Natlan as the Pyro Archon, we would have saved that nation, a nation that can still function and thrive without ley lines, through other means, the Wyab, but the rest of the nations would not be safe. We've always known Irminsul's going to burn. This will be good and bad for Teyvat, because the ley lines help keep the Abyss at bay. We learned that in Inazuma, which is probably why Natlan has such abyssal action and why that nation's targeted. Its lack of protection through its lack of ley lines. But perhaps that's the price you gotta pay for not having ley lines. But if the Abyss can weaponize the ley lines through the Loom of Fate, then what other way can you fight against them to burn Irminsul altogether? That might just be the only way, now that the Traveler has a very good chance to be the Pyro Archon. Might have the means and the power to pull it off because of that quick clip in the Sumeru trailer where the Traveler is standing in front of a burning Irminsul. Is that foreshadowing us as the Pyro Archon teaming up with the Fatui Harbingers once we get to Snezhnaya? And this is what we have to do. Because no matter what, the Fatui Harbingers still have to attempt this, and are most likely going to succeed. That we will either be involved or at least know what's happening. Maybe it isn't the Traveler that actually physically does it, but we help, or we contribute in some way. We also know Project Stuzha is brewing in the background. Arlecchino and Child were talking about it. I have to believe that this is Project Stuzha. It will change the very fabric of how Teyvat functions as an entire world. But by burning it, you might free everyone from the use of the Loom of Fate. Plus, we're already making quick friends with everyone in Natlan, so if we save the nation, there's not going to be a single person that objects to us taking the mantle, and thus gaining the Pyro element and the last Gnosis. But let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do you think that they're going this route with Genshin and its Archon quest within Natlan? Do you think they're going to take a different approach? Or do you think the captain will take the mantle himself? I look forward to reading your thoughts, but thank you so much for watching. I do hope you enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe if you'd like to see more content like this, and as always, we will see you all in the next one. Later.